Yes, chugging down life at the source. Misha Klein on the move. What is happening, team? What, dude? It's been a while. On the move. Hiatus. God, 6, 7, 8 weeks of hiatus. What are we talking here? I haven't dropped an episode in too long. Of course, I haven't had anything to say. When you don't have anything to say, you know what my mom used to tell me? Shut the fuck up and sit down. Cross your legs, you know? Called humility. Fucking dry a little. Life. What is happening, team? America. There's a production. I keep hearing about this production going on in Louisiana. I guess it's some rod puppet miniature. I don't know. Everybody seems to be getting on that. What's going on? What's in the news? What? How? When does Leica's new movie come out? You know, what's Shadow Machine gonna follow up their big Oscar win with? What's happening with Henry Selick? Is he gonna get a 3-picture deal? What's happening? Like in Los Angeles, is Screen Novelties going to get their 3rd or 4th Emmy? Like what is the latest Stupid Buddy news? Well, I'll tell you, I just got back from a little outside of Medford, Oregon. I was working at Stunt Puppet Pictures. Justin Rosh and his family, Shell and Aiden Rosh, hired me to shove toys around for a month, and I lived on the back 40, I call it. I was they put me up on their property. And I was working for the Roshes. It was amazing. It was like summer camp. I took a little hiatus from my domesticated life here in Los Angeles. Just, you know, being a dumpster fire of a pathetic kind of. I almost felt retired. There's so little work happening in LA. So Justin kind of engaged me and pulled me out of semi-retirement. And I did, 4 weeks up there. I was working alongside Hillary Lyle. And it was amazing. It was amazing. I loved it. It was a shot in the arm. It was like so inspirational. You know, because those guys are a force of nature. Justin insists on working hard, playing hard, and every Friday a tradition was he would take the crew out, and the crew consisted of me and Hillary. So the Rosh family, me and Hillary, would go to some restaurant and just load up on food and conversation. And I would watch movies. I probably stayed up till like 1 or 2 in the morning a couple of those nights watching movies, and then early in the morning I'd walk about a quarter mile up the hill because I was sleeping in the barn, and then I would work a good 8 hours, and then I'd rinse and repeat. It was amazing. I wrote a little bit, you know, I pitched something while I was down there. Anyway, it was fun. It was good. It was moralizing, I would say. It was like, oh yeah, there's hope for the indie head. You know, you're starting your own independent YouTube channel. You're starting your own TikTok. You're starting your own business. You're pulling in clients on your own piece of property. It was very nice to see the punk rock indie stop-mo scene is alive and well. you know, and let's see, the job right before that, I worked for Acho, which is a stop motion studio in Puerto Rico. Kike Rivera and his lovely wife Bianca have a studio, and they farmed a little gig out to me and Matt Hazelrig, and we shot a little thing for them. That was kind of cool. That was sort of indie as well. So there's things popping. I also talked with Danny Elfman. Yeah, I might do a thing for him. That was trippy. That was super indie as well. But so things are alive. Things are moving. I'm taking a little hiatus while Liz works, and she's doing a stint over at Apartment D. But that's the latest. I'm trying to. I'm pacing. I'm thinking. What am I thinking about? I'm thinking about movies. I've been seeing some good movies. Sort of obsessed with Tony Gilroy and Andor. I'm trying to make it through season 2. It's getting a little dense. I'm like, okay, let's cut to the chase. But knowing him, all the little loose ends are going to tie up neatly. I've been watching a lot of Tony Gilroy stuff because I'm curious about how he writes. I like how he writes. I was sort of obsessed with Michael Claiborne for a hot minute there. And I just watched Duplicity. It's a good, tight little spy, kind of a comedy, thriller, seat of your pants type thing. Very dense plot. And I guess his brother is this filmmaker, Dan Gilroy, who wrote, I think, The Fall, which is a trippy movie. And Nightcrawler he directed, which was a cool flick. I should revisit that. And then their other brother, John Gilroy, is an editor that they both work with. So it's a real film family. I guess their dad even wrote screenplays, Frank Gilroy. But yeah, taking in movies, I took in the final cut of Blade Runner and kind of geeked out on that for a hot minute. And I didn't forget. But it's so nice to see those miniature effects that were done pre-CG. You know, because there was some good stuff and then some bad stuff. A lot of the bad stuff you saw was very blue screen looking. You know, I mean, I saw Aliens, and the model work in Aliens, it was fun, kind of cool. Great movie, wonderful James Cameron movie, duh. Good action flick, but you look at those models, like the ship flying into the planet through those thick clouds, kind of look like shit compared to Blade Runner, compared to Doug Trumbull, compared to, you know, when you get all those like bipacked optics in a you know, like those effects that were made on big optical printers, they were all done with film. Everything was practically photographed. Some of it has this like really cool artifacting, like the Douglas Trumbull stuff. When you see the Close Encounters and things, like those models, like the lights did all kinds of specular things in the lens. You know, like they haloed and made lens flares, and so when you see the spinners in Blade Runner and they're shooting by camera and stuff, they just have like this glow around them and a soft edge. It looks more like it sort of sits into the effect. and looks more like a painting, like a beautiful airbrush painting, you know, like Sid Mead would do or something. It just like had this beautifully composed, and then it has all those atmospherics, you know, like it feels smoked up, or, you know, and Blade Runner is either smoke or rain. I mean, the whole fucking movie has got atmosphere, and the light's always moving, and it's just like, you know, all those little sounds and sound effects and Vangelis soundtrack all kind of seamlessly moves together with these, I mean, beautiful performances. Rutger Hauer and Daryl Hannah, Harrison Ford. I mean, it's just so many great performances, such great lighting, such beautiful effects. And it's one of those movies you can just watch over and over and over again. But I guess the final cut, Ridley Scott kind of went back in and he fixed a couple little things that were bugging him. One of the things, and it wasn't really overt like kind of Spielberg does with E.T., like, I'm going to change a whole scene. Or, you know, George Lucas, like, I'm putting weird CG creatures in this fucking all practically shot movie. Doesn't fit whatsoever. It's like, no, I'm going to tastefully go in and fix some things that are bugging me, like the slow motion stunt woman that's, you know, running through the plate glass windows getting shot by Deckard. She's getting shot in the back with that clear kind of vinyl. Hope this isn't spoiling it for anybody. But she's, you know, she's like jamming through like the storefront window, and she's just like getting shot and blood's everywhere, and she's fucking falling and dying. That was an actress in a helmet that had like a poorly made wig. Like, it would be one thing if it wasn't in slow motion, but the fact that that effect was in slow motion kind of throws you. You're looking at it going, okay, that's not the actress. That beautiful knockout. Blanking on the actress's name, but you could tell. And so what he did is he mapped her hair and face onto that stunt woman. And so you're just like, oh yeah, that is that character, that replicant getting shot. She is falling. It's so moody with the music, and it's so heartbreaking. You know, and Leon's off the sideline watching. Oh, fucking Pris's friend just got blown away. The snake juggler, whatever. I forget her name. But I just love. That's my sci-fi flick, right there, Blade Runner. I know, whatever. I'm a cheeseball. I like that movie. It, you know, when I was a kid, growing up in Los Angeles, my mom left me in downtown LA in the car. I don't know how old I was, and I looked out the window. We were in Little Tokyo, or kind of near the Bradbury Building down in downtown, near Chinatown. And I looked out. My mom was like, "All right, stay here." She probably went to go score some weed or something. My mom was a big pothead. She still is. And she's like, "You stay in the car." And this is the '70s, so you know, kids fucking sweat it out in the car. You don't want to go in, fucking be around boring adults. And so my mom goes in, and I look out the window, and the car is adjacent to this alley. And they were dressing the alley, and Rutger's Harrison Ford's police car, or whatever, like detective, his car, the one that rolls on the ground, was parked in the alley. And this art department is like literally like dirtying up the fucking alley, and they're putting like pipes up on the outside of these old fucking, you know, like turn of the century buildings, like, you know, I don't know, 1901 buildings, downtown LA. And I was just like 5. I don't know how fucking old I was. Or maybe I was 9 or something. I was just looking out the window and I was just like, holy... Like, it fucking just... It was like, it just... I was like, what is that? Because it was so punk rock and so different and so... You know, those Sid Mead designs were so unique. Because you just didn't see... you know, maybe you saw a Lotus with the big flat pane window fucking windshield. You know, I think even Bond, in one of the Bond films, he drove a Lotus. I remember thinking Lotus, I think he even drove a Lotus underwater or something. They look like spaceships. And there I am looking at you know, this car in this alley. And all the neon and I was just like, what the fuck is going on? And then you know, later in life, I saw the movie Blade Runner. I was like, oh my God, that's what I saw. I saw him shooting that. I mean, maybe that's why I love that film so much. It was like it imprinted on me at such a young age. And I loved how sophisticated it took itself so serious. You know, this is like it was supposed to be 2019. This is LA 2019. You know, neon everywhere, people talking Chinese, fucking, you know, sushi noodle bars, fucking people riding weird bikes, replicants running around, off-world fucking mining operations. A big monolithic pyramid fucking Tyrell Corporation just fucking... which apparently was not a huge model. It's like a 10 by 10. Anyway, I watched that. I watched the shit out of Blade Runner while I was up there. Stunt puppet pictures. And me and Justin had some deep dish conversations about that movie. Just like, wow. What a... You know, if you grow up reading Heavy Metal Magazine and, you know, like Nexus and weird trippy sci-fi, your brain is like so ready for a real sophisticated kind of noir look into the dystopian future. Overcrowded LA. You could totally imagine in the late 70s, early 80s, that LA was going to turn, by, you know, the millennium, it was going to turn into that. Like, no duh. Of course that's what it's going to turn into. And, I mean, some of it rings true. You know, robotics and humanoid, like, that merging of biology and technology, the biotech sector is totally robust now. I mean, what was Trump's big announcement, like day one of his presidency? He was like, Project, what was it called? Stargate, or one of those. Operation Warp Speed, Project Stargate. You know, we're gonna do pre-crime with Peter Thiel and fucking Palantir. It'll be great. We're gonna have this robust AI system that finds replicants and fucking Blade Runners running around. And who knows? Maybe we're heading that way. But, you know, if we don't have a better AI than China, we're fucked, right? We need a couple nuclear reactors to fucking keep those servers nice and cool and fucking powered up. But AI, you know, it's funny. I'm writing a thing about AI right now. Sorry, I'm a little manic pacing in my house here. I started writing this pilot. Let me run it by you guys. It's such an abuse of a fucking podcast here. I'm going to spill the beans on some of my undeveloped ideas. I was like, what if you follow a stop motion animator and everybody on the crew is starting to get replaced by robots? Like, maybe there's a head of departments in our department that's like a human, but a lot of the designs are all AI, and a lot of the fabrication gets done with 3D printers and robots. And then what if the entire lighting and camera crew was totally robots? You know, I mean, I saw a robot that was holding a camera and doing motion control moves. I forget where I saw that on YouTube somewhere. And it was like, robots are, Hollywood's using robots instead of steady cams or whatever. And it's kind of true. I mean, a robot can walk upstairs and jump in an elevator and, kind of go handheld in a more... But can they frame up? Can they pull focus? Can they tastefully keep, actors in a nice composition, while improvising and... Anyway, so I thought it wouldn't be funny if a stop motion, there's nothing funnier than a stop motion puppet, like, bellied up to a fucking stage, shoving around a stop motion puppet. So animating puppets, I think is funny. But anyway, so you follow this, like, stop motion animator that's in a complete crew that everybody's getting replaced by AI and robots, and the network really needs to hold on to, there's like a street cred, like there's popularity still for stop motion. So the network feels compelled to keep this show running, but it's cheaper and easier to just replace most of the humans with robots. And it's kind of like a meta show where you show like the making of a stop motion thing, but you do it in such a way that the crew is, everybody's looking over their shoulder like, fucking, maybe there's this test stage where there's like a robot training to be an animator, but like still most of the animation's done by humans, and everybody, you cook in that dynamic that everybody resents animators, like, because animators always break everything. It's like, can I get better access in here? And my puppet's broken. And can you move this flag? And stop using those, like, hammer drills because it's really loud. I'm trying to concentrate. And everybody's like, fucking animators. We build all this shit and they fucking break it. Half of their shots look like shit. Yeah, no. So you do that times 1,000,000, where now it's like everybody's out of work, but the animators. And so everybody's like, fucking animators. Because they're jealous, like animators still have fucking work. It's just, you just double down on that dynamic. I thought that was funny. Anyway, so I'm trying to develop a little original idea. What else is going on? Yeah, I don't know. I sort of miss doing podcasting. I miss dropping episodes. I miss fucking gabbing on the mic here. I've been pretty depressed. I don't know. Low self-esteem. It's tough coming back to LA. It's great seeing my family. Love being around Gus. He and I are just like geeking out on Legos hardcore. We've been going to this place called Bricks and Minifigs, and he just is so into Star Wars right now. So he's schooling me about all the first generation stormtroopers and phase one and of this race of creatures came from this planet and blah blah blah, and he watches everything, but like I'm having a hard time just with like the whole LA scene. It's kind of like a difficult time here. The post-fire vibes, the post sort of economy collapse, the post, strikes. LA's seen better days, as one might imagine. So it's a little crew of like scrappers that are left here. There's some young folks, there's some diehards, and there are a few of the grizzled old-timers that are kicking around. We're doing a lot of jobs that are underfunded. And the compromises that you used to not tolerate, now you're just welcoming wholeheartedly. Like, oh yeah, you want a 5-minute music video for $10,000? Sure, let's do it. You want to make all your puppets overseas and then have them stuck in customs in a foreign land while we're, everything's breaking, everything's falling apart, everything's, lots of the shows I've been working on go into night shifts. And a bird in the hand, beggars can't be choosers. You got to take what's there. And a lot of times you're, if you've seen more salady type days, it can be a tough pill to swallow. You expect things to sort of be tighter and better and more supportive. But, stop motion has always been this tightrope dance where we're almost going to unionize, or we're almost, it's always getting the shit end of the stick, so it's nothing really new. You're always working under some oppressive regime. With the occasional exceptions, working over at Screen Novelties is always a delicious experience. They do shit right over there. And they're really respectful. But, it's been a tougher row to hoe in the last 4, 5, 6 years. And when people are clutching their pearls and clenching their butt cheeks a little tight, they don't want to spend money. Big, huge clients, fucking Mattel doesn't want to spend money. It's because the economy is in a nobody knows if the fucking dollar's going to hold up. You got inflation coming, and these tariffs, who knows how that's going to impact long-term what's going on. And, cuts and cuts and cuts. And we see more spending in military. But that doesn't trickle down to Hollywood. So, this unwillingness to spend money, let's put our money into hard assets like gold or Bitcoin or I don't know what, as a hedge against this dollar that's so, flimsy. Who can blame? And it feels like this controlled demolition on the economy, ever since COVID. It's just been harder and harder to run a brick and mortar. It's been harder and harder to have a small or medium-sized business. It's been harder and harder to maintain your livelihood, and the tax breaks are going elsewhere. So it incentivizes this whole monstrosity to hit the road. And so, you've seen this mass exodus from LA Basin. You've seen this mass exodus from California to greener pastures. And so it's kind of cool in a weird way, because it feels more like a road warrior. Like the people that are still here in LA are fucking diehards. But I get depressed. I get depressed being down here, especially going into the summer months, because it's just so hot, so smoggy. It's so depressing, And honestly, being up in Oregon was pretty sweet, because people engage you. They're making eye contact and making conversation. They're small talk. They're talking you up. They're like, I met a dude who pumped my gas, because they pump your gas up there. And he was inviting me to, like, a show. He was like, dude, I'm in this band, and you guys should come by and fucking da-da-da. And then I get back here, and I go to, like, my kid's open house at this school, and I can't even get eye contact with another parent. I mean, no diss to other parents, because it's fucking... Nobody wants to go to an open house at a LA public school. It's just... we're fucking tired, broken people. But the result of a broken system is broken people. And part of me, I was floating on denial for a bit, like, just get through this year, and then hopefully things will fucking swing back. And you just find, this is getting depressing, Jesus Christ. But, so anyway, coming back to LA has been pretty tough. But what are you going to do, man? 'Tis life. You got to stay positive. You don't have to do anything, but like, this is what I tell myself, is keep new irons cooking in the fire. Pitch and develop new projects. That's my legacy. Write another show. If I'm pitching shit that isn't hitting, write another one. So I'm just going to keep developing ideas. I'm going to keep recording these stupid fucking cocksucking fucking pathetic podcasts and presenting them to you in, the audio fidelity of a fucking 1972 Volkswagen Beetle.